Hey everyone, and welcome to Logik Talks. My name is Blake Grubbs. I'm the head of marketing at Logik.io, and I'll be hosting Logik Talks to bring you interviews with experts in the quote to cash space, in sales, and in the digital commerce space as well, to hopefully share some of their expertise with you. Really excited to share all of this with you. Hope you enjoy. Great. Well, excited for this one today. Here we are talking with Joe from Original Shift. Really excited to have him on. What we'll be focused on here today is talking about really how CPQ and quote to cash has evolved, especially in relation to companies that are offering hybrid software and physical products within their offerings today. And Joe has some opinions that he wants to share with us on that. First, I'll pass it over to you, Joe. Wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, talk about what your role is at Original Shift, and tell us a little bit about Original Shift as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Blake. Original Shift is a system integrator for Salesforce Revenue Cloud. We specialize only in Salesforce Revenue Cloud. That's all we do, day in and day out. I myself have been in the Revenue Cloud or quote to cash space since let's see here, about 8 years exclusively in this platform, and a little over a decade doing quote to cash, including platforms like Big Machines and things of that nature. Been on that integrator side, helping integrate Big Machines to Salesforce back in the day, and then tools like SteelBrick came out, and ultimately becoming Salesforce CPQ. So it's been a wild ride since I got into that space. I'm glad I kind of hooked up with the folks here at Original Shift. Spent some time at Salesforce. Original Shift itself kind of came out of Salesforce. We were running services inside Salesforce for quote to cash, and we left Salesforce to form Original Shift. We're, I think, the only system integrator to be part of the original kind of product company, and then become our own system integrator. The fun part, I think, here is you've got a lot of nerds in this space. Myself being a founder, and I run innovation. I've got 2 other founders. We're all practitioners. I think if you ask any of one of us to go build a bundle or advise a client on best practices in this space, we can do it, from kind of top down. We're not just managers or business people. We're all practitioners in the space. But yeah, it's been a ton of fun.
That's great, and I think that's a reason why I was excited to chat with you here, because you guys do have that. You do come from the practitioner background, right? Not necessarily just the consultancy background, which is great, and that's why I think what I mentioned before. What I think would be great to jump into here is, when we chatted originally, you had noted and we had talked about how becoming every company in one way or another is becoming kind of a software company in one way or another. Right? And everyone is thinking about software and subscriptions and usage based and things like that. And you having been at Salesforce and SteelBrick and seeing how this evolution has happened, I was wondering if you could just start by talking to us a little bit about what you mean by that. What kind of that shift? What shift are you seeing happening in the market? And what challenges do you think that these companies that are making these shifts are seeing within their quote to cash process and their CPQ platforms?
Yeah, I mean, this is part of what I think Salesforce as a company has been preaching from the beginning, that pretty much all companies are moving from that transactional economy to a relationship-driven one. And that subscription helps drive a relationship-driven approach to your customers, because you have a renewal, you have a touch point with your customer. It's it's not just whenever the customer walks up to you and says, I need more of something, or I no longer want to do business with you. You've got a constant pulse with them. I think in terms of subscription economy, the pandemic has really kind of kicked that into high gear, right? You have newer services that started as a subscription, like Netflix, everyone knows. But then, particularly with the pandemic, you saw things like groceries, Instacart, Blue Apron, all these things take off because folks weren't traveling to the grocery store anymore. So some very traditional businesses and things that everyone need are now getting delivered on a regular subscribed basis. And the thing about these companies is that it creates such a better predictable revenue model for them, and they can project growth and invest in portions of their business that are excelling and showing growth on a month-over-month basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it makes sense, right? Across B2C and both B2B, like you said, the pandemic having shifted that. In what other industries, I think, at Logik, we see even some more surprising industries that this is happening in, companies that are maybe in manufacturing, maybe in medical device, things like that, kind of marrying or starting to see more of a hybrid approach between kind of the physical and usage-based or services models and things like that. Can you talk about maybe some of those other industries that you're starting to see this in that might be surprising, or, approaches to more traditional industries?
Yeah, I think the sad reality is that a lot of internal systems lack that flexibility to support and understand subscriptions and the recurring nature of them, not to mention the relationships between those subscriptions and the actual products that the customer is consuming. As you mentioned, like in the B2B space, a common paradigm is that like good, better, best license type, right? Basic, professional, enterprise. And you kind of see those when you look under the hood of those, it's really feature enablement. They're not really different products. It's like we're flipping switches on and off in these things about our products. And I think that's where a good configurator like Logik really shows its value, right? You can take a customer's use case and not just sell them a one size fits all, good, better, best approach. You can say, well, what are your requirements? Capture those in a good configurator that's got a lot of ability to have different inputs, different input paradigms, whether that's pick lists, numbers, checkboxes, capture all that, capture the use case, and then have it spit out. This is the set of features that fits your need, right? You're showing more value for money to your customers. I think on the other side of that is kind of the internal systems perspective, which is how do you allow customers to upgrade and expand their footprint without having constantly to kind of restate those contracts? Because you're going to sell them something and it's stated you have these features. Well, there's kind of a delta approach to these things, right? We'd rather say we're flipping these features on and off rather than saying you are canceling all the features and stuff of good to go to better. Mm-hmm. And I think you're seeing that a lot in industries, as you mentioned, that maybe you didn't see them before. There's a IoT, or well, it was a distribution company that we've been working with that developed an IoT cloud because they saw that we're selling a lot of HVAC stuff, dampers, control units, thermostats, and they're putting them in these buildings to control the whole thermal envelope. And then they said, well, we can build a cloud where all that equipment's reporting back to us, and we can develop a holistic approach to this building, not just the individual devices and how they turn. I think another example of that is like cybersecurity and telematics. Those are, I think, two big industries that are grappling with this transition from kind of physical product to subscription and usage, because they used to just sell server racks and cybersecurity place, right? Like they used to sell you an appliance, but today is all about threat intelligence. We want that cloud-based approach, intelligence across your firm's entire envelope. So I get the benefit of attacks that are happening at another client, another site, and I can protect against them here. So that subscription is worth way more valuable than the appliance that's deploying it.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And You mentioned earlier too flexibility, and I think that these changes that are happening now, right? Some could be foreseen and some unforeseen with these businesses. With your practice at Original Shift, what are the types of things that you're recommending to your clients, and in order to really kind of future-proof the way that their systems are working, right? Because we know how much maintenance and administration can go into these systems when they're not configured correctly, right? So what's kind of the approach that you guys take to ensure your clients' kind of long-term success when it comes to that?
Yeah, lately it's been a lot of divorcing what is a product and what is a platform feature or an offering, right? As I mentioned with the good, better, best, you have a whole set of features under the covers. Those features might change year to year, your good, better, best, or you rebrand that to, platinum or whatever, or you add another level, or you've got beta features you want to show. And it's that relationship between what are you selling and what are you provisioning that, like a good configurator, helps drive. I can select that I want my good product, but really drive all the under the covers items of what fits inside this good product. And you can do things and make it very flexible to your customer, as I mentioned earlier, and drive more value by saying, well, maybe I can do something like, well, good is at X price point. What features add up to X price point? So I'm delivering the most value for that price point to my customer.
Yeah, I think that's something that we've seen on the Logik side here, and it's interesting that you say it here. Is we talk about selling solutions versus assembling parts and things like that. So it's interesting to hear you say that, because I think it feels like the world is moving towards something where customers want to give you their requirements and expect you to be able to spit those out.
Exactly.
So would you say like speed, does that help in terms of speed to quote and accelerating that quote?
Speed to quote. It's also speed to market, right? You can enable beta features and make that available to your sales reps. And if you've divorced them from kind of your SKU side, if you will, and your pricing, you can say, well, you can include this in this offering, right? And maybe there's an approval or something that goes along with that from the product team, but it helps companies speed to market in terms of getting that product out there and minimizing the back office impacts of it. Right? You don't need to go and set up all the accounting structures and it's all grouped under the SKU, and you can fit whatever you can under there.
Right. So SKU proliferation and product proliferation is something that this whole process can help with.
Oh yeah. I think anyone that's worked in the quote to cash space is probably bored to death of SKU proliferation conversations. It's like the enemy of quote to, of any quoting or CPQ solution. It's like, let's first start with, let's look at your product catalog. Oh, look, you've got 13 products that are named the same thing. And the difference is that, this is 1 day, this is 2 days, this is 3 days, or, this is, this is for 10 licenses, 20 licenses, 30. Well, there's no reason you can't do that with one SKU and do some dynamic pricing or dynamic configuration under the covers to drive that.
Great. So lastly here, I wanted to come back to Original Shift and kind of ask you and give you a chance to say, how does Original Shift kind of differentiate? How do you guys go to market in a way that, again, you mentioned, you guys are a group of practitioners that have been there, done that when it comes to Revenue Cloud, but wanted to give you a chance to go ahead and talk about, how you guys approach the market differently and how you guys drive customer success.
Yeah, I mean, we're still a systems integrator, right? But first we look to the marketplace and look for off-the-shelf tools like Logik that help meet the requirements of our customers. And then we've got our set of kind of, because we've seen so much, we are all practitioners. we've also created kind of our own in-house set of architectures that our project teams use. These things differ in how they're delivered. Some are just business processes that we've kind of synthesized through all our exposure, and all the different kind of companies we've seen in a particular vertical. And we develop best practices around that and say, okay, we've seen this requirement time and time again, and here's our best practice approach, and here's why. Because when you go down this road, when you look at the back office, here are the challenges you're going to start seeing pop up if you approach it in X fashion. I think the other side of that is we've developed some of our own software, right? Again, we're still system integrators, but they're really accelerators. We want to get our teams 80% of the way there on a standard approach, so we're consistent across our customers. And that we can go back and say with certainty that we've implemented this time and time again and in this fashion, and it's worked. So it's kind of, tested, if you will. That helps us deliver more value for dollar when it comes to, man hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, those are all the questions I had for you here, Joe. Really appreciate you joining here, and I thought this was a great conversation to help folks understand really how to go about handling kind of this evolving world that we're living in when it comes to products and subscriptions and usage based. So really appreciate you joining.
Yeah, thank you very much, man.